Hey, and thanks for joining me on this edition of the podcast. I'm your host, Jason Brown, the co founder of SERPWoo and inventor of SERP tracking. And in today's episode, we go over what's working in SEO for May 6th. Now, before we jump into it, I do want to address the elephant in the room for those folks with some OCD. Yes, I've got trash in the background. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by those hardworking folks at McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Starbucks. As you can see right here, that's what powers some late night SEO, coding, and overall marketing things to do this podcast. So let's go ahead and get that set out there. But let's switch screens. I do have an update from our last two videos compared to this week. So let me switch over and let me hide myself here. So what you're looking at is our volatility rankings. Now, our first video was, I believe, on the 22nd. So as you can see here, when we did our first video in this series, it was right after a big shuffling. And I showed you what was working that week the day after. Now, the second video we did on the 29th. Now, there wasn't much volatility change from the 22nd until the 29th. You know, anything over 15% is where I start looking at, hey, is there things shuffling? Is there things maybe changing? You can kind of see that with all the chatter from the 21st, where just a few days before, say, let's just look here. On the 17th, we actually get up to 16% on the 18th, 16% on the 19th, 18% on the 20th, and then 18% on the 21st. So this update that happened, or this shuffling that happened, actually took a few days to roll out. Again, anything over 15% is when I start looking. 16 is a little bit of a gray area, but definitely it shows you where it leads up to that 18%. Then things started to drop back down on the 22nd, which was our first video. And then we hover in that 16 to 15 all the way until our second video. Now, right after our second video, we come up to May 1st and we hit 17. And this is where tracking each week in the Excel spreadsheet that I'm getting ready to show you is so important, because even though nothing was mentioned that there was an algorithm update or any big chatter similar to the 21st of April, we definitely picked something up here on May 1st. And then after that point, it kind of calms down again. It is hovering in the 16th or 16%, sorry, whereas yesterday was showing as 15%. But let's jump into the Excel spreadsheet here. And I'm going to have to adjust my screen here. Give me 1 second. All right. So here is our Excel spreadsheet. So just to go over this real quick again, here's the factors that I saw on April 22nd for what was working that week. Now, there's about 20 factors that I'll look at. We actually monitor a lot more. I mean, we've got billions of data points within SERPWoo. And as I'm looking in the back end, I'm looking at tons of factors across those billions of data points. I mean, we're looking at thousands of factors here. But I'm looking at the top 20 when I do this report. Now, the reason why it's only showing 8 or 9 at a time is sometimes these factors overlap. For an example, if you look right here at this H2, the reason why I put that there was because in the top 20 factors, when I was looking at it, H2 was showing up multiple times. Sometimes it would just be H2 by itself. Sometimes it would be a grouping of H1 through H3, which contains H2, or a grouping of H1 through H6, which again contains H2. So what I did was condense it because H2 was what was repeatedly showing across those overlapping factors or similar factors. So I just put it here as H2. So this is the reason why you're seeing 8 or 9 instead of all 20. It was just to condense it and get to the most important things. And some of that, was overlap within other ones too, like this A tag one. We've got multiple factors that look at A tags or they look at other tags. So I just condensed it. And what we've seen on April 29th, our second video, was this is what was repeated. So keyword frequency, keywords in H2, P tags, A tags, script tags, div tags, and then we have what was new, which was alt attributes and main tags. So now remember, May 1st, I just showed you in our volatility, we had a spike there of 17%. And when I looked at the report and actually tried to drill out what we were looking at as far as what was ranking this week, here's what's came up. The only things that repeated from prior weeks were keywords in H2, which has been in all three videos now, this being the third, keywords and sentences, which showed up twice, first video and now this video, and nothing else broke the top 20. Now, that doesn't mean that these aren't important factors like keywords and A tags or keywords and script tags. It just means it didn't break the top 20. Could have been very close. It could have been 23rd or 25th. It just didn't break the top 20. But here's what was new. Now it's keywords and titles, page size, the size of the page, or you could roughly say the size of the body tag, the size of the page itself, images with alt text. So you might as well, go ahead and make sure that you got images and they've got alt text, and you might as well go ahead and put your keywords there too. Keywords and meta description, keywords in H1 now as its own line item. Now remember, when I looked at H2s, H2s overlapped with similar. So that being H2 as its own line item, H2 being in the H1 through H3 as one factor, H2 being in the H1 through H6 as one factor. What I'm seeing now is not those overlapping factors with H2 or H tags in general. I'm actually seeing by itself keywords in H1 and by itself keywords in H3. So these are their own individual ones ranking in that top 20 factors. So this is, what I'm seeing for what came out yesterday. Again, today is May 6th. Yesterday was May 5th. But that's what I'm seeing as what is ranking based on our completed pool of all the keywords and billions of data points that we've got in SERPWOO right now. And again, this is why it's very important to look at this week by week and to use a tool like SERPWOO to look at volatility and fluctuations within the SERPs so that you can identify what's working week to week. Don't go off generic, plain rehashed SEO, especially not for individual keywords or topics, industries, niches. Now, with the data that we're looking at is all of our data in SERPWOO. But what you can do is you can actually go into SERPWOO, monitor your keywords, and then run our Zora tool on your keywords to get more specific, honed in information about your niche or about your keyword specifically. And they might actually be a little bit different than what I'm showing you here. If you were monitoring within SERPWOO your particular keyword or keywords, and you did this week by week, say on a Thursday or a Friday, and you ran our Zora tool, you might actually see little differences. Maybe for your keyword or your industry, you're seeing still keywords and P tags. I don't know if you've watched our prior two videos, but in our last video, I actually made a prediction that I think H2 is always going to show up because for years, I've been looking at this data. I've actually wrote about this data years ago each year, and H2 was always coming up. I still think H2 is going to be there next week and the week after. I think we will get fluctuations with other factors, but this is what I'm seeing this week, folks. And this is why it's important to monitor your keywords, look at them weekly, monitor your specific keywords. Don't go off generic SEO advice. Don't wait for other people to say, hey, we've got a named algorithm update, or wait for other people to say, hey, we've spotted something. You can go into SERPWOO and look at this data and find this data for yourself. The volatility tool that I showed, let me bring it back here. This data is available to everybody in SERPWU. You don't even have to be a member, actually. We've got on our homepage a link to our lab section, which has this graph also. There is a link inside of it once you are a member. It's the same data, though. But you can look at this data and see for yourself when things change. And this data that you're seeing in the screen in front of you is for all of our billions of data points that we're watching. But you can get this data yourself. And then once you're in SERPWU, you can start building out your own. Let me get this back here. You can start building out your own spreadsheet just like this. But essentially, Zora's going to take care of it for you. Zora will actually spit out the recommendations and tell you what you're missing for like your title tags and your heading tags and your image tags. It does all of this for you on a keyword level. Now, I'm doing this as just broad general to show you what's working in SEO this week. But I hope this has helped you. I try to keep it short and sweet. If you want to be notified of these videos, and particularly these changes, go ahead, subscribe, comment, like, ring the bell so that you can be one of the first people to know when I publish these videos. We also do a backlink series, but you'll be the first one to know about updates to this channel as we roll out new videos. And if you comment like, I also know what kind of content that you're finding the most interesting so that I can focus on just that and not do any of the things that you don't like. So please help and participate with liking and commenting, and subscribe to be one of the first people to find out about these before your competitors do. And I hope this has helped. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks again. See you later.